The Matt McNeil Show. This is Greg Bakun filling in this Thursday and Friday. Very happy to have you all with us, broadcasting from the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, as well as WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I am so excited right now. I'm not going to even lie here. I've been following Randy West for some time, actually, and for those who may not know who Randy West is, he is first and foremost a TV and radio announcer. He has an incredible background. He's been doing this for 35 years, but some may have heard his voice on The Price is Right, as he had done that for a year. He's also an author and speaker on broadcast history as well. His book that we're going to be talking a little bit about as well, TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, and Felonies. One of my favorite things to talk about is broadcast history. Randy, thank you so much. Welcome to the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Greg, thank you so much. Joy to be with you in the Twin Cities, which I always thought were Sodom and Gomorrah. But apparently I've been wrong all these years. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, and that's as long as I can help you to educate you on our fair cities, then it's a job well done. Here we are, and like I said, I've been following you for some time, and I don't mean in a creepy way. Okay, it's been somewhat creepy. Sometimes
behind the dark corner there. Yeah.
Do I look familiar to you? Anyway, so here we are. You've been doing this work for 35 years, and as a milestone like that, how does that feel? What's going through your mind now that you've been doing this for so long?
It's, first of all, I don't know what happened. 28 minutes ago, I think I was 30 years old. It just all moved so quickly. But I'll tell you, it's the craziest thing. I'm thrilled every minute I get behind a microphone, even speaking with you, because when I was a small child, I'm talking 14 years old, teenager, I used to cut classes and go down to watch television shows tape at 30 Rock, NBC in New York. And I said, my God, if I could only live in this world. When you watch TV at home, everybody on the other side of the screen seems happy. Singers, dancers, comedians. Everybody's having a great time. I want to be in that world. And when I saw that I could actually access the studio audience, well, I was just enthralled. And then it never even crossed my mind initially to ever dream about working in that industry. And a guy named Johnny Olson, who was the original announcer on The Price is Right, as well as many other shows. Yeah, Johnny saw my interest and passion and took a liking to me, put me in his warm-up act in the studio, and go years further, mentored me, taught me everything I needed to know to get into the business. Never gave me a job, but he gave me every tool in his very large and very respected toolbox. So every day I get a chance to, realize that at that age I had a dream of doing something, and now I get to do it.
And you get to do it, and you do it well. It's interesting, and I'd been practicing this at home, and let's see if I really mess it up when I do this here. But the one thing, because I went back and I found on YouTube what said The Price is Right episode, Randy West edition episode. And I listened to it, and I thought to myself, the funny thing is, Johnny Olson, Rod Roddy, is there some kind of special voice that you try to do for Price is Right? Because it's always a sort of like almost like a Tarzan sort of like yell, but in a voicing. And I thought to myself, is that because there are like 300 screaming people in there, and you gotta cut through somehow with your voice?
You're right on multiple counts. First of all, that room is so hot that you have to eat the mic, as they say. You have to get your face right in it and scream. And you cannot have, as an audio mixer, Dirk Skirtaretta, I think is the mispronunciation of the name. He's now working on Family Feud. But he said to me, dude, I can't open your mic and Bob Barker's mic at the same time and not have one of you being drowned out. The crowd is so loud. So part of it is cutting through, breaking through. And the other part was remaining true to the show's origins. Millions of people watch that program and live by it every single day. And when Johnny Olson started at The Price is Right in 1972, he created the phrase, come on down. It wasn't something everybody was running around saying. If you're old enough to remember before 1972, people didn't go, "Hey, come on down," and he would one step beyond just delivering it. He went to "Come on down."
Right.
Gave it that energy.
That is so amazing, and so like being a fan of the series, and I'm going to admit, and this isn't anything against Drew. It's just I don't watch it like I used to. I mean, I'm a big Bob Barker fan, and there's going to be a generation that's going to be a big Drew Carey fan over it. So it's just kind of how it goes. But I remember, like, I'd go look up on YouTube, like, what did the first episode of The Price is Right look like? How did it change over the years? Because I'm like you, I love broadcast history. I love all of that, and I just was like, it hadn't changed a whole lot. It's a little subdued, more subdued than it ended up getting to. But boy, all that stuff was right there from the beginning.
Yeah, well, at the very beginning of the very first shows, people weren't yelling and screaming and hooting and howling. The audience was dressed up, with
Right.
ties and dresses on, and nobody screamed. Johnny Olson said, "Mary McCarthy, stand up." He didn't say, "Come on down."
Yeah.
He said, "Stand up." 4 people stood up, and then he said, "Come on down." You're the first 4 contestants. So the legacy and the memories that people have of being home from school, watching that show as a kid, has become a part of so many people's lives. To go back to your earlier question, Johnny created a template for this, and when they were looking to replace Johnny after his passing in 1985, they auditioned a lot of people, and Rod Roddy came to the top because a lot of his delivery is also in that tenor. "It's time to press your luck."
Yeah.
Which was the show they auditioned to find a similar voice. And Rod was a friend of mine we both started in radio long before either of us were doing anything in television. And I was thrilled to be chosen to fill in for him during his illness and passing away.
Yeah.
And I realized that he was doing his best to maintain the continuity of the show. And I took a stance somewhere between his delivery and Johnny's, so the show would, feel continuous and without interruption, without abrupt change. It's like it's an honor. It's carrying forward a torch, a tradition that so many people respect and have great emotional, feelings for. So, mastering that "a new car,"
Yep.
And that delivery and that sound, it's not what I sound like on all television shows that I've announced,
Yeah.
which is dozens.
Yeah.
But it was appropriate there.
Like you, my whole life I've been fascinated by broadcast, just in general about how can I be listening to somebody from another state, or how tapes are delivered, and how broadcasting works and the shows and everything else like that. Has that been with you your whole life as well? I mean, just from the start, like this whole industry is so interesting.
Well, yeah, watching TV as a kid, I mean, it was always fascinating to me to watch all these happy people doing something interesting, fun, juggling, singing, whatever they were doing. It was entertainment, far more entertaining than was going on in my living room. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So once I got the chance to go visit, I was fascinated. People would sit in the audience in the middle section so they could watch the show as if it were like a Broadway production. I would sit at one end of the room or the other, meaning the side aisles, off to the wings. To see, well, hey, what does that guy do? And here's Johnny Olson. Let me watch him while he reads. And he would hand me his old scripts and stuff like that, and put me into his game. So into the not the game show, but I mean
Right.
his warm up and his presentation. So I was fascinated, as you say, with the nuts and bolts and how it comes together, and I still am. When somebody says we need a second take on that, Randy. Which is a whole new thing. Most game shows recorded directly to tape, and there was no editing.
Right.
These days, things are edited because the viewers are more sophisticated. We all have our own video cameras, and we can all see something that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of editing, and it's the nuts and bolts go right down to what was happening when we did the first take on this. What was the energy level of the audience? Where was the timbre of my voice, so that we match, so you don't feel, an obvious edit. So there's a lot of strangeness to it. And I'll give you the most thing that amazes most people when the announcer is reading, about the new car or the toaster oven or whatever it is. You'll spend 6 days and 2 lonely nights roaming the beaches of San Juan, Puerto Rico, whatever the hell we're talking about. There's somebody screaming in your ear. That's the part that nobody gets to hear. There's the director who's, standby camera 2, ready music, cue announce, open curtain, change, sliding 3, take 4, camera 2, speed up, Randy. All this dialogue is going on in your head, which to most people and myself early on was a major distraction. But they're directing the show for you. And in some of those cases, those what we call fee plugs, those little commercial announcements for Lee Press-On Nails, beautify active hands instantly with Lee Press-On Nails. Those are timed. They're timed commercials.
Yep.
So they need to run a certain length, not more and not less. They paid for that time, but not more because the network only gives the production company so many seconds to do those promos with. So there's somebody in my head going 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, change. And you don't want to leave a lot of dead air where, you're finished with a copy of 2 and the audience is going, well, where did he go? And you certainly can't run over because now there's a hard cut there. So there's these little intricacies that I'm thrilled with because it's just more to know and more of a challenge. And working a live show with Bob Barker, live meaning live to tape, no stopping.
Yep.
Like 2-minute commercial with Bob Barker was 2 minutes, and nothing ever interrupted the flow unless some catastrophic event happened. So it's working without a net. If I screwed up, there's no budget, no time, no expectation, no provision for editing. If I said something wrong, I had to, like in radio, you kind of pick up the ball where you dropped it and then just hope that nobody noticed, Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of those baubles. I know you can count them on less than the fingers of a hand because I had been doing this for so many years.
Right.
But that energy of working without a net, it's sort of like a high wire act in the circus, and it just adds to the adrenaline. And that I guess you can tell that I love the work.
I was going to say, because you have to love that. I mean, you have to love that to be wanted to do that. And, as someone, I love listening to people speak. So I listen to announcers such as yourself who you can hear the crispness and cleanness of every syllable being said. And yes, meanwhile, not giving away the fact that there is somebody in your ear counting you down and not trying to pace what they're saying, but being aware of it. And it just amazes me. I love it.
Well, I watch people, artists working with oils and canvas, and I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. How do you tune a car? I don't know. So many things I don't understand. So I have the same respect for other people who have their own specialties in life. There's a lot of situations you could put me in, and I would fail miserably. But this is something I really understand, enjoy, and have reached some monicum of success with.
Absolutely. Your book, the most recent book that you've come out with, TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, and Felonies. When did that get published?
Well, it's about a year old now.
Okay.
And it came about because I wrote a biography of Johnny Olson. Because when Johnny passed away, his family gave me all the things he saved from a 58-year career. So among the boxes of Emmys and microphones and scripts was an autobiography he had planned to write. He had an outline, a couple of chapters. So I finished it as an homage, a way to return the favor. And the publisher came to me and said, you need to write another book. And I was like, I had no intention of writing even the first one,
right.
But it kind of fell in my lap. I'm no writer. He said, well, you are, because this first book is selling. So go write something else. And that was what brought us to TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, Felonies, which is a compendium of outrageous stories, the things you at home have no idea what's going on in the studios as far as actors who are not getting along and fights and craziness and shows that are canceled and suddenly it's revived and the turmoils and the ins and outs and the roller coaster ride. And some of the stories are truly outrageous. So having spent decades on the sets of some of these shows, I've overheard, been party to, or had the opportunity to just talk at length with people who have watched the most amazing things. Jerry Lewis and Joan Rivers feuded until their lives were over. It was over her appearance on a telethon for muscular dystrophy. And Jerry was saying, without your money, these kids are going to die, or however he said it. She took great offense to it.
Randy?
And bawled him out backstage. In front
Randy,
of the kids.
I'm just going to quickly interrupt. We have a hard break to hit. Let's continue our conversation here after the break. We're on the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950 and WCPT.
I'm so glad
McNeil Show. This is Greg Bakun filling in for Matt today and tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me. Broadcasting on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. If you have a question for Randy, give us a call, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. You can also put a comment into the comment section if you're watching us online right now. And, before we get back to your book, Randy, I wanted to ask you, first of all, did I see right that you were at the taping of the final Patch Sajak episode of The Wheel of Fortune?
Sure, absolutely. I try to show up at some of the memorable moments and events. Yeah.
How was the energy in there?
Well, it was fascinating. Vanna really stole the show in my mind, as much as we all love and respect Pat. We were ready for his Friday, final words, but it was Thursday the Thursday show, they'll all obviously tape on the same day, that blew me away because Vanna was like right into camera saying, I don't know how my life is going to change without Pat doing the show. We've been brothers, sisters, our kids have grown up together. We've traveled the world together on this show, and it's a relationship that's gone on for near 40 years, and it's full of memories. And she started to talk and tear up, and the audience was tearing up. And we had no expectation there'd be any kind of goodbye on the Thursday show, and there she was. Opening her heart. She's such a lovely lady. I've had the opportunity to work and see her over many years. She's always such a complete charmer. She's a lovely woman. But to see her so vulnerable and open was amazing on Thursday. On Friday, Pat is far more subdued. He's less emotional. Mm-hmm. And his goodbye was more, it's been a pleasure being here. It was lovely and charming and elegant and professional and all those things, but it wasn't quite as oh my God, I don't, emotionally vulnerable. I recall, but it was a thrill to be in the studio to watch the end of an era, for sure.
I bet it was. And I remember from watching that he took like the last 3 minutes or so, if I'm not mistaken, doing his thing, saying his goodbyes. And I was curious, was that recorded at the end of the episode or was that recorded beforehand? I'm curious about that.
Well, you're an educated viewer. Because indeed, they cleared the audience out. That's why you heard no applause or distracting kind of sounds that you normally would in a live studio. He felt it would be more important to talk directly to the viewers. So it was recorded after the show where it belonged. It was correct in time sequence, but he did it without an audience and straight to camera. And it was, I think, he felt more emotional and more revealing that way.
I'm sure. We have only about 4 minutes left or so. It goes by so quickly, and I have so many questions. Your book, TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, and Felonies, and I swear one of these times I'm going to say a fluke in a bad way with all the F's that you named your book. Thank you for that. How can folks get a hold of this? What's the best way?
It's at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. It's pretty much anywhere that you would buy books online. But my recommendation is you get it from me because I can autograph it to you. I can't go down to Amazon and start signing books.
No.
But I would love the opportunity to, you buy it from me and I can say, hey, Greg, it's a thrill talking with you. Or Greg, I know your favorite shows are in these pages, whatever. So that would be tvrandywest.com. And then I can make it a more personal gift to you. tvrandywest.com.
And going there, you can also, if you want, you could buy Randy's other book, Johnny Olson, A Voice in Time. And honestly, I mean, it's important. I think it's very important what you're doing because we move further and further away from Johnny's passing, which would have been what, in 1984, 80, something like
85.
that? 85. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the idea that these are important people to us. So they paved the way for a lot, such as yourself and other great performers to do things. We don't want to lose sight of these people. And I find it interesting, and I'm excited. So many years after Johnny's passing, that so many people remember him so well. And I think that's such a great tribute. And you are keeping that torch alive as well.
Well, Johnny's story is fascinating for many reasons, including he was in television before there was television. He was a radio star at many shows over radio networks. And when television was starting to be experimented with, I'm going back to the 1930s and early 40s, he was one of the people, the stars of radio, who was took a train up to Schenectady, New York, where General Electric had their studio where they're doing research. Now, nobody had the chance to watch the show, but he was there when they were experimenting in how will television work. And he was the first host of a daytime entertainment show in the history of television networks. He was on the Dumont Network with a daily show called Rumpus Room. It was the first national daytime entertainment show. So his story, as in the book, and anyone who had the opportunity to know him, is part of the history of television. So as you say, it really shouldn't be lost.
No, it shouldn't. Now, as we're running out of time here, Randy, what are you working on? What is stuff that where can we hear your voice or see you now?
Well, you don't see me because I have a good face for voiceover, which is a joke. But I do some occasional acting, little roles in sitcoms and stuff. But for the most part, you hear my voice sometimes on Big Brother. Some of the, not the overall show, Welcome to Big Brother. It's more about the challenges. Okay, to housemates, now we're going to do the head of household challenge, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I get calls for all manner of, incidental, miscellaneous things. I'm not on a television show that's currently, in production on an ongoing basis because, frankly, there are fewer and fewer announcers. If you get past The Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy, most shows do not have announcers. The host comes out and says hello, and there's no prizes to describe because they're all cash shows these days. So the industry has changed a little bit, and that's fine. Everything changes. Everything changes.
Once again, the book is called TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, and Felonies. You can get it on randy-west.com. And you can also get it on Amazon, but you want that personal touch to it. I think that.
Yeah, let me give you that address properly. It's TV Randy West, all one word.
I'm seeing
TV Randy West.
Got it. It's showing up different for some reason on my browser. So thank you for the clarification on there. And I wish that we weren't running out of time. I have a lot of questions. I'm hoping that you'd consider coming back sometime and
absolutely
darkening my door. That would be fantastic. I really appreciate it. Once again, Randy West, the book is called TV Inside Out, Flukes, Flakes, Feuds, and Felonies. Randy, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Greg. Really enjoyed talking with you.
All righty. Take care, Randy. And we'll be back. We got the one and only Robert Pilot coming up at the 4 o'clock hour. You're listening to the Matt McNeil Show.